May 1918. New Orleans, a city renowned for its vibrant culture, soulful jazz, and French Quarter charm, was suddenly gripped by a chilling wave of terror. The victims were often Italian-American grocers, attacked in the dead of night while they slept in their homes. The weapon of choice was chillingly domestic, an axe, often the victim's own axe or hatchet, found on the premises. The initial attacks seemed random, but a pattern of brutal, targeted home invasions began to emerge, signaling the rise of the city's first documented serial killer, a figure who would come to be known only as the Axeman of New Orleans. This wasn't just a murderer. He was a silent, nocturnal phantom who breached the sanctity of the home, leaving behind a trail of blood and profound, inescapable fear. The Axeman's method was distinctive and brutal. He would often enter the victims' homes by chiseling a panel out of a back door, typically leaving the panel near the point of entry. Once inside, he would attack his victims, men, women, and even children, with the blunt or sharp edge of an axe while they slept. The lack of robbery or sexual assault as a primary motive suggested a killer driven by an internal psychological compulsion. The pattern of attacks, primarily targeting families of Italian heritage, led initial investigations to focus on the mafia, or organized crime, a lead that ultimately proved to be a red herring. The early victims, including the tragic slaughter of the elderly Cortimiglia couple, further amplified the city's terror. The initial police response was frantic and disorganized. With no clear motive and little forensic evidence beyond the grim trail of blood, the police struggled to calm a terrified populace. The fear was so intense that many residents began barricading their doors, and hardware stores quickly sold out of axes as citizens bought them for self-defense against the very weapon being used to murder them. The true chilling nature of the Axeman was revealed through his direct communication. On March 13, 1919, the local newspapers received an extraordinary letter allegedly written by the killer himself. The letter was a taunt, a boast, and a terrifying promise, written in a dramatic, almost theatrical style. In it, the Axeman claimed to be a demonic entity from hell and promised another murder exactly one night later, on March 19th. This letter instantly catapulted the local crime spree into a national sensation, confirming that the killer was actively engaging with the public fear he generated. The letter, however, included a bizarre caveat, a lifeline of sorts. The Axeman declared that he was a fan of jazz music, the city's vibrant soundtrack. He stated that he would spare any house where a jazz band was playing that very particular night. This strange, almost musical demand transformed the night of March 19th into a surreal, desperate public event. New Orleans responded exactly as the Axeman intended. Dance halls were packed, and amateur and professional jazz musicians played non-stop throughout the night in homes across the city. The noise was constant, the streets were alive, and miraculously, on that designated night of terror, no one was murdered. The jazz exemption is one of the most unique elements in the annals of true crime history. It suggested a killer with a theatrical flair, a dark sense of humor, and a deep connection to the city's musical soul. Some investigators theorized the exemption was a cynical way for the killer to ensure he got a good night's sleep without having to stalk his victims, while others believed it pointed to a specific psychological trigger or an elaborate alibi for someone involved in the music scene. Following the night of the jazz exemption, the attacks continued sporadically, but with renewed fervor. The killer seemed to disappear and reappear without warning, defying any consistent pattern of timing or location. His victims were varied, sometimes including women who were simply passing time, or men who were alone. This unpredictability maintained the city's state of terror, forcing people to remain vigilant even as the war ended and life attempted to return to normal. The final confirmed attack attributed to the Axeman occurred in October 1919, nearly a year after the jazz exemption. The victim, Mike Pepitone, was murdered in his bed while his wife survived the attack. This final brutal act of violence was immediately followed by the complete and permanent silence of the Axeman. He never wrote another letter, and no similar murders ever occurred in New Orleans again. His sudden cessation of activity remains as mysterious as his identity. The official investigation concluded without a suspect. Theories abounded, pointing toward disgruntled members of the Italian community, rival grocers, or a lone individual with an intense, unaddressed psychological disorder. The initial focus on a mafia feud may have misdirected attention away from a single, unhinged perpetrator. The absence of a clear physical description, given that most victims were attacked in the dark while they slept, further complicated the efforts of the police. One prominent modern theory suggests the Axeman was actually Joseph Momfrey, an Italian-American man who was shot to death by Pepitone's wife in 1921. She claimed Momfrey was the Axeman, and she killed him in revenge for her husband's murder. While Momfrey was a known criminal, the police never definitively confirmed he was the Axeman, and the true motive for his murder remains murky, leaving this a compelling yet ultimately unproven theory. The case's legacy is profound. It left a lasting scar on New Orleans, becoming intertwined with its cultural identity, a grim shadow lurking beneath the celebratory rhythm of its music. The era of the Axeman is a testament to the fact that even in times of great gaiety and social upheaval, inexplicable darkness can prevail, transforming the familiar comfort of home into a place of ultimate danger. The investigation, despite its historical context, offers an interesting parallel to modern cold cases. The reliance on public information, the sensationalist media involvement, and the struggle to interpret a killer's signature are all factors that continue to plague law enforcement today. The Axeman was a criminal whose awareness of the media and ability to command public fear made him a terrifyingly modern figure for the early 20th century. The enduring mystery of his identity ensures the case continues to be studied. Modern forensic science, unfortunately, is unlikely to solve this one, as the physical evidence from 1919 has long since been lost, degraded, or destroyed. The answers now lie solely in historical documents, faded police reports, and the enduring lore of New Orleans. The Axeman of New Orleans remains a spectral figure in American crime history, a unique blend of brutality and theatrical flair whose only identifiable features are the sound of jazz and the quiet, terrifying thud of an axe. To this day, the true identity of the Axeman remains one of the greatest unsolved serial killer mysteries.